Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
New 52 book.
Somebody clip this one.
Welcome to 2 Capes. I'm Jared. I am here with my boy Robert. What's up, brother?
Not too much at all. Yourself?
Doing pretty well. I finally got him, ladies and gentlemen. We were having a conversation at one point, and
after recording a PTN.
Yeah, after recording a thing on his show, and I finally got him to admit that there's a bad version of Lois.
The way you came up was funny too, though. You just casually asked about, you brought up Lois being, Superwoman, and he said, "Didn't it happen before?" And oh yeah, that was New 52 though. She died. She deserved to die.
Oh wait, I think it was the identity reveal or something like that. But
no. I said that's why. I then said that's why she deserved to die. That was the big reason. That was the okay. That was the. Let me put it better. That was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. So it's got me thinking. Let's talk about what's the problem with new. Why was the New 52 Lois particularly egregious? Oh, and real quick. I just want to say one thing. Now, you guys all know that I hate any form of Lois. This is a fun conversation to have. So I'm going to ask you guys this. Even you guys that hate Lois, please be civil in the chat. If you're not civil in the chat, I will be doling out timeouts. And then if it gets really bad, I will be banning people. Just want to be clear on that.
And also, guys, keep in mind, I'm not saying anything here to antagonize you. I'm just saying my point. If you guys think what you believe are facts, that's on you.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about this. I think she was better when Grant was on. Yeah, exactly. When Grant was on the book. Now, here's the thing. He
was keeping her traditional. Traditional.
The way Morrison wrote it, it's kind of the way Superman's always been written. The only difference is Lois and Clark were not a couple. That was like the only major difference. I would say,
which is perfectly fine.
If that worked for that version of the universe.
At that starting point, here's where the problem, I think, came with New 52 Lois. She was a consequence of the mismanagement, the not having things planned out, and especially the waiting for Grant. Mm-hmm. Can we agree to that? It was the waiting for Grant portion, especially, that was egregious.
Yeah, because for those that don't know, the way the New 52 on the Superman side was structured is that you had George Perez writing Superman in the modern day, at least for I think the first 2.
Oh, he left because he was tired of waiting for Grant. He left because of that.
Because here's the problem. Perez was writing in now, modern day.
Yep.
Morrison was writing 5 years in the past. So you kind of had to know roughly what Morrison was doing so you didn't contradict him.
And whereas Jeff didn't care.
Yeah, so it's more
Jeff
like
didn't care. He just steamrolled right through.
Yeah, so that was, and I'll be honest again, Robert. I'm a big fan of this era of DC. I'll admit that was the big issue with the era, is that there was no communication / coordination. At least with All In and the Absolute line, they're clearly doing that.
Exactly. Even I know you don't like Rebirth. Even Rebirth, there was at least coordination there too.
Coordination to eliminate the New 52,
but it's still a coordination compared to New 52.
Yeah, exactly. There's at least something there. And what's up, Cameron?
Unfortunately, you had Grant. They were doing everything to keep Grant happy to the detriment of Perez.
Yeah, and the thing is I understand that you want because of the two. Who was more big of the two? Do you think? But I believe Rebirth Lois was worse because she was written as a Mary Sue.
That was one scene that doesn't define a whole character.
Okay, fair enough. And we need Clark to get the... Okay, Daniel, I understand you don't like Lois, but we're not... we're talking about a version of Lois that wasn't with Clark, so that's the conversation here.
And please, I ask you politely, Daniel, don't try and antagonize me just because you don't like her. I adore Lois, so please, I'm asking politely.
See, here's the thing, guys. I have people I disagree with on this channel all the time.
And he's been waiting for a moment to have me trash at least
of all the time. Think about it this way. It's a victory. He's bashing some version of Lois.
Yep. Some version of Lois. And hey, you got me admitting the other things. Like, I will acknowledge Super Wonder is better for a Wonder Woman, at least, because she... the only thing I've left is Steve.
Yeah, exactly. But so the thing about it is, like, so let me put it this way. Rereading New 52 action and even Superman, Wonder Woman, that's the most tolerable form of Lois. My problem started when with the identity reveal and truth. That's when
that was the nail. Okay, before we get to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Her problem was no one knew how to handle her. And I think part of the problem was, how do you do it without her connecting to Clark, which is to a degree. But I think the other thing is you had so much other plate spinning. She just fell by the wayside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She just fell by the wayside. No one knew what to do. And especially when Lobdell separated Clark from the Daily Planet.
Yeah, Cameron says, honestly, I'm surprised that it didn't have Clark and Lois get together in the New 52, because wasn't that where they started? No. That was in Rebirth when they were marketing the return of the Superman, Lois, and Clark book. They said the return of the original power couple.
Which was playing off of how they were post-crisis before New 52, which still applies to a point. And
by the way, Britt's here, so I have to play her intro. She's in the chat, so I'm going to play her intro.
He's back.
And Britt,
I would half agree.
Mm-hmm.
Half agree with that.
She's really the way she's always been. She is okay. Actually, I'm gonna disagree slightly with Britt on this, because
that's why I said half.
Yeah, because here's the thing. No, here's what I'm gonna admit. Okay, the concept of Lois separate from Clark, Lois as a character, it's actually not a bad concept, because if you have like the journalistic angle in a world with superheroes, that actually is kind of cool. So I'm like, you can play with that.
And we agree. You and I both agreed off screen as well. Whereas at least with Lois, unlike Steve, Lois we've seen stand on her own without the love interest.
Yeah, exactly. So
Steve, we have not.
Because Steve, here's the thing. In my mind, Steve is a plot device that exists to get her off the island. Once she's off that island, his usefulness goes down.
And can we also agree to this? Between the two of them, could you at least acknowledge Lois is still better in Steve is basically everything the people assume about Lois.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, he is everything the worst case scenarios people have about Lois. He's pointless, he's useless, he's usually a damsel, or he's just the love interest, nothing else to the character.
Yeah, and Tevye brings up the good point about the truth arc. Yeah, that's the thing.
Because her reasoning was, I would say Jeff Johns tried to get things straightened out. Mm-hmm. It made her the new Brainiac. No, that's not. No,
that's not what they did. That's actually not what they did, Daniel. Because
I really think he's trying to get a rise out of me.
No. Didn't they make? So what happens is she was taken over by Brainiac.
Well, beforehand, she was interviewing people in the build-up to it, or at least the build-up to a Brainiac story in general. Met a guy who had the mental powers. We didn't know how it was going to play up. Then eventually, it was then amalgamated into Doomed. Yeah, she did have it, and then they used her to help out. So they weren't making her a villain. It was just other people were becoming Brainiac. She was going to be one of them. Who knows what the original plans were? Who knows?
Yeah, Daniel, by that logic, anyone that's been taken over by Brainiac is then a new bad guy then. And that's happened to I would argue, every Justice Leaguer at some point.
Has been taken over. I mean, but that would mean basically...
We just had a video game where that happens!
Exactly. But yeah, like I said, but that was the problem with New 52 Lois. She was hardly used. Can you think about that?
Yeah.
Up until Truth, how much was she used? Barely. In fact,
outside of the Morrison run, not quite.
Lobdell tried. He tried.
Yeah, they tried, and see here's how I know that they didn't know what to do with her. When they gave her superpowers, that's kind of my gauge when they don't know what to do with these love interests to like give them superpowers.
Well, then Lana also had superpowers, and she was a former love interest.
Yeah, but the thing is that they did more stuff with her in the Steel book.
That was recent. I'm talking about during the actual Superwoman book.
Yeah, that's true, but here's the thing.
And that book was okay.
It was okay, but that's a good point. I can kind of abide by that.
And also, and the whole point of that, Lois was always meant to die. It was always meant to be a twist.
Mm-hmm.
They hyped it up and then revealed, oh, she died. It was actually Lana's book the whole time.
I know. As much as I love the idea of Lois Lane dying.
Oh yeah, the Hive Queen stuff also had happened once.
Yeah, and there was one,
and Lana also had to deal with that too.
Was that the one when Clark and Diana go to her housewarming party?
I think maybe it was, but look, anyway, the truth is when we can all agree. The truth is when they finally gave her a main character, main stuff, and it was bad.
Yeah, it screwed everyone.
And they tried to give her a justification. It didn't work. Oh, I was worried for Clark's safety, so I revealed his identity that I just found out.
If you're worried about his, that's going to put him in more danger. That whole truth era of Superman was the biggest load of dog crap. Like, even especially on the Superman Wonder Woman side.
But that goes without saying.
That goes without saying. But it's like, even on that, I'm like, I get what you were trying to do. And this was around the time they did DCYOUs. They were like, let's take away his powers. Let's put him on a motorcycle.
Let's limit his powers. They didn't take away. Nerfed him.
Let's severely depower him. Let's put him on a motorcycle. Let's give him a Superman t-shirt and have him drive around the country.
Let's have him be more political.
Yeah, exactly. I think what they were trying to do is get him back to more of the classic Action Comics era of Superman.
I just read something else. Lois hardly appeared after she revealed the identity.
She appeared in Superman, Wonder Woman, and then the funny part is that the government captures like all of Superman's friends, like Lana and Lois. Mm-hmm. One of them breaks her out and puts her in the lasso, and of course Lois is written very snarkily, which is hilarious because it was written by Peter J. Tomasi. So I'm like, you would think he would write Lois a little better.
No, I don't believe that, Britt. I do not believe that was the case. No. Because Superman and Lois was in the working stages towards the end of that, not at the start. Like they probably, I don't think they even had the book ready to go when they had the truth in the works.
Well, it could be they used it as a way to like prop up the returning Superman for the fan base to like warm them up to the concept of killing off this other guy.
I'm not sure, because here's why I don't think so. Because it was quite clear that, well, one, why would they immediately toss everything out when they brought in Jeff Johns to reinvigorate New 52 Superman? And then right after he leaves is when they lead right into the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of a case of Pac and Romita. And Romita, they were loving Romita at that point. What they wanted to appease him.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
And he made no secret, he did not like Lois.
Who? Romita
Jr.
Well, I like Romita Jr. even more now. But by the way, and Britt, it could be very well what you said as well as a justification. But let's go with that.
I don't buy it.
And he says, I'd say the less we see of Lois, the better. She was created to be a supporting character, not a co-lead. The Dean Cain show started that trend.
No, that in the title, yes. But the whole point of Lois and Clark was that it was meant to be a rom-com or a superhero romance series in general. I don't think we're going away to make her co-lead in period, like in the superheroic sense.
But I do kind of agree with Randy to the degree that DC does try and push her as the co-lead of the book, or like the co-lead of Superman anything.
I think a lot of that is the writer's intent. I don't think that's DC. I think that's the writer's idea.
Okay, that's very true. That's very interesting.
And there are a lot of writers who do adore that couple.
Which
maybe overboard, but hey, the fact you have so many people who want to write those two, I don't think all that
it's always the same people too. Yeah, New 52 Lois Lane was also unlikable during the weird story with the Phantom King. What was that?
Which one are you talking about, Tavia? Because the only fan game besides Morrison was that brief in Superman Batman. But even then, she was barely in that.
But Britt says Jeff Johns was already hinting at this during his interview on his short run of missing the post-crisis status quo. Convergence was in the works already, as well as Jurgen's Dio plan for John.
I would like to see that specific, not interpretive.
Yeah, okay. Britt, DM me the interview, and I'll DM it to Robert.
Yeah, I would like to. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm just simply saying I can see that being misinterpreted as well. So it could go one or the other.
Yeah, you just want to see it. All right. And he says, the thing is, Lois is a good character. It's when the writers have her be
Tristan's here.
That too. Hey, Nerdette. What's up, Tris? Answer your damn email.
It's cold.
It's cold here, too. It's cold in Florida.
I'm in Michigan. It's cold outside.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the only connection. That's the thing, is that writers do go a little overboard when it comes to, without Lois, he turns into a dictator.
No, okay. I think that's also blown up. I think that's a lot of fans who misinterpret. I do not think as many writers believe that. I think that's the case where it's been built up a bit too much, if you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of fans have, because I don't go that far.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of fans who don't go that far, where she's the sole thing keeping that.
Because I'm like, if she's the sole thing keeping him a human, what about Jonathan and Martha Kent?
Yeah, what about
who he was with before he met Lois?
Now, I do think New 52 made it very clear why he needs Mom and Pa more in his life than, because unfortunately you leave that too easy for people to just botch the whole, he's going to be grieving over his parents. I think nowadays, compared to the old days where it was just a fact, move on, let's not care about it.
Yeah, I will say there's this great moment in Superman Wonder Woman after he kicks Apollo's ass. He goes to the moon, and then Batman goes, hey, listen, Clark, there's a reason why I've always felt comfortable working with you, and that's because regardless of your origin, you always see yourself as human because you were raised on this planet. As far as you knew, up to a certain point, you were just a dude that had powers.
Right, but anyway, as far as, again, with New 52 Lois, I think it's less, like I said, it's less about her not feeling involved with Clark as much as the writers had too much. I think it's less about the romance, and it's more about the romance leading to her to be more involved in his life, which would lead to the writers doing more with her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think what writers have to do is they have to figure out how to write. They should have like come up. Essentially, you know what they should have maybe done? Like one of those summits where they're like, okay, so here's who Lois is.
Like they used to.
Yes, here's the way we can like direct her character and stuff. Here's the cool stories we can do. Instead of just saying, what do we do because she's married to Clark? It's like, so as she says,
that's
real quick.
I agree.
His parents not having a role as New 52 results. Yes, but here's the thing.
It's different states of writers. Like I said earlier, back in the Golden Age, his parents are dead, but you didn't have writers who cared.
Yeah, exactly.
They just moved on. Nowadays, you have people who care about telling that, like, how does he react to his parents being dead? And then you have people go overboard and focus on, he's just going to be miserable because his parents died because he wasn't there to save them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, I get what these people are going for. Okay, she's emailing back. Okay, sorry. But the thing about this is like, so I've made it very clear that this was like the era that like colored my opinion of Lois. And honestly, irreversibly. Now, I'll be the first to say, I've been a guest on Robert's Pro Teaches Noobs a fair amount. You've shown me good depictions of Lois. That's fine, and I appreciate that. The problem is, I then revert back, okay, so there was that, and I'm like, but there's that.
Yeah, but again, New 52 Lois is completely separate from the Lois I've been showing you.
No, but I know, but it's still Lois.
Wait, I just realized something else. Snyder did a good Lois in Unchained.
Actually, yeah, he kind of did.
It just dawned on me. Snyder did a good Lois and Unchained. What little he used her in it, but it was still good.
A lot of guys named Snyder do good Lois depictions. I'm just saying.
I get that. I get
You know what's
that.
hilarious, Robert? You'll love this. So I was having a Twitter debate with an anti-Snyder person because I like this stuff. And I brought up how I don't like Lois. And the person goes, well, you're just a Snyder fan. And I'm like, you realize Lois was kind of important to Snyder's movies, right?
Right. But I want to also agree with Daniel here. I will agree with that. Again, people go overboard. Because you know what a prime example that completely debunks that mindset?
What?
Kingdom Come.
Yeah, he broods, but it's like, because that's what happened because he's grieving her. But actually, it wasn't just that. It was the Joker being killed by Magog and then humanity embracing him.
Exactly. But losing Lois was a big part of that.
It was a portion. It's like when, even in Injustice, it's not just Lois's death that leads to that.
But unfortunately, it simplified it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with Injustice. It overly simplified it, and I think that's what people are latching onto.
Yeah, they in the dialogue of the game in the comics, they focus too much on the Lois dying, not the city got freaking nuked.
Exactly. So I think you have people who misinterpret it because, again, a lot of people say Lois is important to his humanity, just like Ma and Pa. And for me and a lot of Superman fans growing up on pre-Injustice, they were the three. Those were the main big three: Lois, Ma, and Pa. Post-crisis, from post-crisis onward.
Yeah. Now,
because his humanity was never a factor pre-crisis.
Yeah, and the thing is like with me, I've always said that, like, I don't think Lois plays zero role, or I don't think she should be eliminated entirely because, yeah, I acknowledge she does play a role. I think she would play a better role as, like, a friend / ally.
Earth One,
there you go. That shows, that's why I love that so much, because that's what I would like them to explore more with Lois. Because here's the thing. If people really think Lois is great on her own, show me.
Right, and Atchison, again, don't judge the old pre-crisis writing because most writers didn't have that type of mindset when writing that stuff. That's why I argue from the Bronze Age they started it, but I always say post-crisis onward is when it became more heavy-duty thinking about the character than pre-crisis. Pre-crisis, again, most of the writers didn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the writers did not even care about that type of stuff. Or if they did, it was so absurdly done, most people ignored them. Like, the glasses aren't enough. He actually hypnotizes people's minds.
My headcanon.
I'm not kidding.
My headcanon, I think I read this in a fan fiction once, but I figured that just kind of makes sense. That, like, the glasses are like Kryptonian tech that slightly distort his face when you look at him.
You don't even need the glasses. You know what? They have a simple way of doing it. He's always subtly vibrating.
Okay, there you go. That works too.
That was a comic established thing. That was pre-crisis, but they've teased it before where he's always subtly vibrating. So if you take a photo, you can still see his face clearly, but there's something that distorts the features a little.
By the way, Cameron asked, also, correct me if I'm wrong, but has there ever been an instance where Lois with superpowers was not only done well, but also accepted? Superwoman does not count.
All-Star!
Oh, yeah, All-Star. Well, with that, here's why it was accepted. Because it was explicitly made temporary.
But to be fair, she's rarely ever had that situation. That's the thing, though. Superwoman, the original, Rebirth Superwoman, and the current stuff going on are the only times, really. And
both are... They're not gonna. The one that they're doing now, that ain't lasting. It's not a permanent change.
And they're not even disguising that.
Yeah, it's clearly not a permanent change.
It's just a story, and I think because they know no one's gonna buy it, and Lois cannot withstand being permanently.
Because also it would then, going back to our previous point, Robert, it would then undermine the point that her being human brings his humanity because she has superpowers now.
Now it might give her a better understanding of his side of things.
Yes. I will say I'm interested. What's up, Legion? I'm going to be very interested after this. Mm-hmm. Like when she loses the powers to see how they write her, to see if maybe she's like, maybe she has like more of like, okay, I understand your world a little more now.
Exactly. But But anyway, New 52 Lois, like I said, her biggest flaw was just hardly utilized. But you get what I was saying earlier. The problem was it wasn't so much just the relationship. It's more the fact that I see people rely too much on the relationship to keep Lois close, in proximity to Clark, for them to come up with writing, because they just did everything they can to distance the two. And if she's not involved with any of his stories, why should you write her?
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. She can play a role. It's just it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic role. And the thing is, like, it's like my point, because you could even have okay, so my pitch for how I would let's say DC completely rebooted from the very beginning, Flashpoint style. The way I would handle it is Lois is like a rival journalist that's trying to out the identity of Superman, and because she knows. Earth 1, yeah, exactly. And it's like Clark has to constantly basically just do Earth 1. That's pretty much it, because you can make it where like.
Have you read the new Absolute? Have you read the new Absolute?
I haven't read 2 yet. I've heard it's good.
I'm not going to say anything. It's a case where it's showing the world, despite the dark side energy, it's not trying to get it back on track, but you could definitely tell some things are trying to right itself despite the energy, if you know what I mean. Not a romance. Not the romance, though. I'll assure you, it's not the romance.
Yeah, I think that, and like Williamson and Snyder were clear that like the universe is going to at least pitch into that direction, because it's like it's supposed to show that if you take away the support system of these characters, they're still the heroes we know.
And it's like the universe is trying to fight back against Darkseid, which.
That's a very Grant Morrison-y concept there.
Well, it's the whole idea with Elseworlds. How many Elseworlds sometimes end with them back where they were? Now they totally just steamroll to it. It's like Superman feeding bullets. I still hate how they forced that ending.
Or how about we're like, my problem with like those Elseworlds where Batman became other characters, because then other people associated with Batman had to be them.
Superman Tarzan was the most egregious.
Yeah, exactly.
You and I both groaned at that. We were liking it until the last issue, and then it's like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so having powers does not mean you're not human. Yeah, but I know, Legion, what I mean is like, because there was a concept where like...
It's more like being a superhero as opposed to being a complete civilian.
Yeah, exactly. And it is, by the way, so here's the point there, is that when I talked to Comic Historian about this, he said the problem with Lois is, and he clarified, the problem with like any non-superpowered love interest, including Steve, is that to a certain degree, there's a limited amount of things you could do with the character, because then it resorts to, okay, he has to go save her.
And yet people accept MJ. She's exactly the same thing. She's the exact same thing, yet people don't complain. And if you notice, Spidey, with some exceptions, like Black Cat, and then a few other superheroes they just want to pair up with, most of his love interests are just normal girls.
I think here's the difference when it comes to Marvel and DC. DC are like the gods, and like Spider-Man is as close to a dude as you can get with a guy that has spider powers.
Flash. They've never paired him with another super.
Correction, Jessica Cruz.
They toyed with
Rebirth Justice League, bro. They were dating, and they had kids in the future. It got wiped out, but still, they had kids in the future. Okay, they did pair them.
I mean, a regular permanent pairing, not a teasing and done for the story pairing.
At the time, it was a regular thing.
Oh, but you get my point still, right?
No, not a, like, it's gone on for like 10, 20 years. Yeah, that's a good beginning of Flash Rebirth. They paired Barry with someone that was taken up by Godspeed in the very beginning. I forget the character's name.
But they were trying to get back with Iris still. The whole end game was to eventually get back to Iris. I mean, and you can't even say hell at least has Carol, who's a Star Sapphire at least. So
yeah, exactly.
But like I said, but if you know that though, so with Flash, that's a prime example right there. That's a DC example right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I mean, but they have explored it with Flash.
But here and there, but for majority of his existence, they keep him with normal girls.
I'm not saying it happens like all the time. I'm just saying they have at least explored it.
Right.
It's like the other example.
I'm saying, and people accept this. What I'm saying. You don't see anyone try to say put him with someone else.
The other example that I kind of like using is Batman, Catwoman, because they're both superheroes, as close as they can get in that sense. And
but she knows the idea, the point of having a double life and everything. So it's like Peter again was Black Cat in that regard.
Yeah, Cameron says, I think why people accept MJ is because Marvel, at least at the time, at least, it doesn't put her front and center.
But they're trying to keep her away because of and so they're going the opposite direction, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, Clark was born as a human, and yet I don't think that's the point, dude. I do not think that's the point because Clark was raised human, yes. So so just because he was born human, it was born an alien, he shouldn't ever be with a human. That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fine, but I think. But now we're gonna do something very interesting, and Robert gave me a little challenge.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to give some positives of post-crisis Lois,
which I've given a bunch. So.
And I figured it's only fair because I'm having him blast a version of his of a character he likes. I might as well do the opposite. So I put up. Okay, by the way, so Cameron says also, Robert, I see your point with Iris, but most of the Flash legacy is now connected through them. What does that mean?
Can you rephrase that, Cameron? I don't think. I think maybe it's because their descendants are all connected to Iris, and and being paired with Iris. But again, why? But that's basically saying because they've had a long history. How is it any different from Superman and Lois then?
Yeah,
by that logic.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, you want me to put post-crisis? You want? Go ahead.
She puts herself in harm's way. Now, here's why I mean that can be a good thing, because it shows that Atomic Skull shows that she is brave at least, and she's not like cowardly. She does have some balls, is what I'm trying to say, to be crude about it, and she's intelligent. This is really hard for me.
Oh, come on! I'm giving you more example. Okay, can I give you an example?
Sure.
Remember that bit where Clark has been he's told, you want to do the assignment, you got to get the story done by the end. But he's too busy the whole day. And yet what does Lois do at the end?
She writes the story for him.
But makes it look like he wrote it.
Which can be seen as a little immoral, but I see what you're saying there. But yeah.
It's for her husband. You're able to let things slide.
By the way, Cameron says, I mean, by having them connected, you bring in Wally and so forth. Sorry, I tried to put that in a good wording. It's all good, dude.
It's good. But I'm saying no, but still, that's a great moment right there.
Yeah, I'll give you that. She does she works when she's caring for other people sometimes. Now, can I say a lot of times? Can I say the problem with certain depictions of Lois? So can you agree? Okay, so the current Lois we have is technically post-crisis Lois, right?
Oh yeah, it's been that way, yes.
Here's the problem.
Maybe a little bit of New 52 merged in with her.
Then you read Heroes in Crisis.
Okay, one, like I said before, and this is why I always say this, one story does not fully deride a character. The whole problem now, and in that regard, I know what you're saying. And
again, I'm not saying that one story depicts it. I'm just saying whenever I seem to have a moment where I'm like, is Lois that bad? Then a writer at DC will do a story like that, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys.
And I agree. And now that was a railroading. Do you blame a character when a writers use them just for the sake of railroading for a plot point? That's the hard part.
It's just that was then combined with my new 52 conception of Lois. That's the problem.
No, and I understand that. But I'm just saying, because there's been times where Diana's been butchered. There's been times where she's been written as a complete another.
She's doing it right now under Tom King.
But for example, unfortunately, the blah ha ha era writers usually portrayed Diana as a witch. Rhymes with witch. And to the
Yeah.
point where,
You mean a JLI era?
Yep. And even when they did the Super Buddies, because there's a point where she's all like, "Meh," and then you have Fire going, "Oh yeah, sure." And I'm like, "What was that?" I said, "Thank you, oh wonderful and magnificent Wonder Woman." That's not what it sounded like. Like they tried to take the warrior side and emphasize it too much.
That's the other thing about on the Wonder Woman side is that there's about the recent Action Comics backup didn't Becky help Lois. Oh, you mean the one where she says that like I wouldn't have gotten a Pulitzer if I didn't cover Superman, even though I knew you were Superman?
Can I say this? You know what a lot of these descriptors fall under? What? It sucks, so it's ruined forever. There's that phrase, ruined forever.
Well, unfortunately, here's the thing: when you come into a character with an already preconceived notion, like with me, and then you see DC puts out this stuff.
Oh, I agree.
I did like though in Superman and Lois the last season, they actually addressed this with Lex bringing that up, and I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. I appreciated them for bringing up the hypocrisy.
And Tavia, it was the Rainbow Rowell story that was during the Gail Simone issues recently.
By the way, can I say? The Mark Waid Action Comics run is delightful.
Yeah.
I love it. It is so freaking good.
Like I said, remember when I had him on my show before? He said the whole point is to answer a big question that's important as, what is the Phantom Zone?
Yeah, I love what he's doing. And I like how he kind of tweaks the... Jor-El didn't originally intend for it to be a prison.
Which is true. That's been established before.
But they kind of like... They make it because I think Clark says he always thought that Jor-El knew it was wanted it to be used for a prison, but like the last resort prison. And this is like, no, he didn't want it a prison at all.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, you're actually helping with Jor-El. I like that.
Yeah, I would think it does retcon Rogo's Czar, but to be fair though, a lot of Krypton stuff wafers back and forth, and that's been a problem ever since Carlin left the Superman books. Ever since then, they have waffled and soft rebooted Krypton so many points. I mean, they did a story called Return to Krypton where they tried to say, oh yeah, everything you knew. Oh no, post-crisis Krypton never really existed. It was the pre-crisis, which made no sense, everything they shown.
What?
And they tried to do it, where it's basically Jor-El shows up, first looks like post-crisis Jor-El, then he changed his outfit changed to pre-crisis and saying, my son, I lied to you. But there was such backlash, they then revealed, oh, it was a lie.
I have no idea. Trying to remember, but was PC Lois ever wrong in situations post-crisis, or is she always right?
She has been wrong plenty of times. They almost never wrote her as being always right.
I think, and Cameron brings up a good point, because I want to say that's sort of my hatred of her, because besides her toxic fans, I don't necessarily judge a character based on the fan base surrounding the character, but I get how that can color, because sometimes DC portrays her as such, or like some writer will portray her as such, and I'm like, no.
Sometimes Lois is portrayed as being right, but it's not in that playful, like, of course I'm right, it's being playful about it, not,
By the way, Legion says Wade's action is very mailed in. Past few issues were a slog, and the Superboy story is unnecessary and forced in to give Henry some space to put out a weekly book. It's not the worst.
I mean, I think he means the Supergirl story.
No, I think he means the Superboy, the story with Connor and Keenan.
True. Okay, but that's true. But
so Superman has been amazing.
Oh yeah.
I will say as much as I don't. Okay. Lois aside, yeah, and I'm sorry, Dan Moore's art is I'm so glad he's the Justice League artist. I'm so happy. Happy.
Tava, you mean specifically the Rebirth Lois stuff? Yeah. Again, I think I don't know if I said this on the show before, but I'll say it here. I don't remember which artist it was now, but there was an artist who worked regularly with Rucka. And I talked to him about how when he did his first adventure run, he was perfectly balanced politically with Lois. You know what I mean? Where Lois just that, but then when he came and did the other book, and I was like, oh nope, she has to match being a far left journalist and everything. And basically he said, Rucka had a bit of a meltdown after the 2016 election. and basically didn't realize he can't be apolitical in his writing anymore. And he said he's never going to go back, because he now feels he has to put the politics in the book for people to read and know the truth.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They've actually addressed Lois's politics in the book. Isn't she a Republican?
For the most part, but not a hard lead. But what? She's a military brat, so I'm pretty sure it's
the military brat. So I'm like, yeah, of course Rucka's not going to go in that way.
But not too far. She's not an extreme Republican.
Oh, yeah, of course. But what does it say that? Because I noticed, Robert, to that point, that Rucka was like on a lot of DC books, and all of a sudden he just vanished.
Well, part of why he vanished was because of getting screwed over on the the Wonder Woman Earth 1. That was supposed to be his book.
Really?
And then they gave it to Grant, and he left.
Okay. And it's like the reason why they never like brought him back is because of the politics stuff.
I don't know if it had to do with the No. I don't think that's what it was. I think he's just content what he's doing.
Okay. Work. Yeah.
Well, of course, okay. I mean, like I said, she's a military brat. Why wouldn't she?
Yeah, exactly.
But of course, though, Greca's mind, she's a journalist, so she has to be a left-leaning.
Yeah, and I'm like, as if there's no right-leaning journalists.
Yeah, exactly. But to be fair, though, Lois would never be. That's why I say Lois is apolitical in her journalism.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever seen her be anything, besides the Rucka stuff, be anything that wasn't apolitical? No.
Well, actually, that Rucka book made no sense, because wasn't it like she became aware of the DC reboots and was trying to like investigate the reboots or something?
And that was the dumbest part. Especially when they said, "Oh no, she knows she merged with that other Lois."
Yeah, I'm like, how would you know that?
That didn't make any sense at all. I think that was playing off of something Bendis was going, but then he dropped it.
Well, then not only that, then the book basically turns into a question book.
Oh, okay. First of all, Tavia, he hasn't read the new issue.
I haven't read her there. I haven't read the new issue, so we're not going to deal with that.
I am curious in the direction. I won't go any further. But still, though. But again, Lois, in my mind, has she been mishandled? And I'll skip that. Has even post-credit Lois been mishandled? Oh, yeah. She has been mishandled. She has been butchered before. She has been completely, there have been some times where you've had a writer on and you've had to deal with Lois being that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And sometimes you have a writer who will come in and be all like, I don't care. And then they're going to keep going on forward with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the thing, because it's like now what I think though is that there have been bad versions. I think a lot of the times these bad versions, at least for me, happen relatively close together, so it seems like she's being written crappily over and over and over again.
Or it's about the book that you just happen to have read.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, I really hate this. And so both of them has been have been mishandled, sadly, even Mary Jane. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, MJ has been, again, they're doing that to spite us, though. MJ is doing done to spite us. And keeping Paul around.
Oh, I cannot wait. Watch. That's a character I think they'll retcon out at some point. They'll be like,
oh, no. If they get it up low, they're going to then totally eviscerate the character.
Oh, they're going to literally murder Paul. They will murder him.
I think that's a case where I think Lowe doesn't realize he is building up the hate-dom even more, to the point where it's going to taint other books. And yet he's going to think like, I'm going to keep doing it. And I think that's going to be one of his downfalls.
Well, isn't it like Paul's in the Venom book now?
Because Venom is under the Spider-Man office now.
Oh, God damn it.
Apparently, all new Venom is now in that. Of course, people are already saying he's the new Venom.
Oh, my God. If he's the new Venom, I'm going to be like, murder Venom.
I don't think Ewan would want that.
It's so stupid. But yeah, I'm 100% sure that that as soon as I agree with you, Robert, as soon as Loeb leaves, say goodbye to Paul.
Oh, and they're going to eviscerate him to finally earn back trust, because they are going overboard with this. To the point where like in Paul we trust, or whatever Lowe said. It was like
it face front true believers or something like that. I was like, oh, stop.
again, I have to wonder if he's out the door and he's just turning this up as a screw you. But still, Lois, but again, back to Lois. Like I said, Lois, can I give people reasons to why I defend Lois and I don't? I love Diana. Don't get me wrong, but why I'm not a diehard believer in any of the stuff.
Okay.
I grew up when I grew up, which was mostly post-crisis, and you could say what you want but what behind the scenes reasons there were, but on the surface, Diana was on her own, kept separate, even from most of the other books. So you cannot just say it was just the super office. She was barely appeared in any other books. In fact, the first time she ever had a major interaction is when she led the Justice League toward the end, well after the blah ha ha era. There was that brief point, but that was like years into post-crisis. And but as far as, and thus, I just knew them as friends. They interacted, but one, though I've always brought up, she calls him Kal-El. Even if they say, call me Clark, she would say, you're Kal-El.
Not all the time, though. I will say that. That's I'm going to disagree with you. I think you're overemphasizing how many times she calls him Cal in that.
First of all, I just said from what I've read.
Okay, yep.
I'm using what you said.
Yeah.
From what I've read was Diana. Great character, but her interactions with Superman was at a minimum. And what times I have read, which was even by the time of Death and War was on Return, she would keep saying Cal. Okay,
follow-up question. So?
No. I'm just saying that. But with Lois, I knew Lois for so long. So by the time they started doing anything about the two together, it was just hints, teases, or references to Frank Miller.
Okay.
When it came to the Superman and Wonder Woman.
Yep.
And I'm saying that's why it was me. With Lois, she was always there. It's always been Lois. Lana was the good friend. There didn't have to be a romance and everything. Which is what bothered me about Chuck Austen, when Chuck Austen was trying to practically make Lois and Lana a homewrecker. And to the point where he completely ruined that great moment of Lois getting shot during Rucka's run.
You mean the one that you and I went over?
But you know why? He then revealed right beforehand when she got shot, it said he got the reason why he wasn't fast enough to get there because he was too distracted on when Lana had told him.
That is so stupid.
Which was basically saying how, oh, you're here, badly beaten and bleeding and near death, and yet she hasn't come back from where she's at. She probably hasn't heard. Lois probably hasn't heard because she's in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a war zone is loud. So there you go.
But even then, you're not going to get that. But of course, Lana's like, if I was in her shoes, I'd drop everything and come here. She's in the middle of a war zone doing an important story.
And Clark understands that in the story. He even endorsed it.
Exactly. And yet, by course, and that's what Clark says but Lana keeps on saying, nope, she's wrong for you. This is what, and but at the same time, then she says, oh, I'm not trying to mess things up. Yeah, she is. And to the point where then later on, right around Christmas, you see Lois in a wheelchair, still recovering, holding up a pair of panties and saying, whose are these? What do you mean? They're yours, aren't they? Oh. And they're hanging there like, Lois, can we? No. Now again, I don't blame her there, do you?
Nope. So the other thing that I will bring up, this is another example of the writer.
Oh, I know what you're bringing up.
Going overboard. I say overboard with this. Immortal Beloved. It's the one where... So it
was like revealed it was not her.
No, but as far as Clark knows, Lois is dead because as far as he knows, they've been there for like 1,000 years. That's done. Because he's like, oh, it'll only ever be Lois. Even in death, she's the only one. And I'm like, what?
Oh. Again,
let me ask you this, Robert. Do you agree with me that was a little overboard? Okay.
A little, but I always saw that as that's part of the reason why I had issues with Superman Lost.
Which was the
notion that he was gone for just like a year or so, or a couple years. And yet he was that big a mess when it's like, but he was gone for thousands of years. And yet it didn't affect him that badly.
Yeah, but that's my point on the Diana part is like, he's like, as far as he knows, as far as he knows, Lois is dead and buried. That's it. And I'm like, why? So post-crisis began with Clark and Diana getting close, but once Byrne decided that Clark be more normal, their relationship was distant and awkward.
But they were planning on being normal from the get-go. Before that, when did they try to set up those two getting close? Before Byrne made that decision. When Byrne made that decision from the start, I don't get that. Doesn't make sense.
All right, Britt, damn me this too, and I'll.
Do you get what I'm saying? Though, if he was starting from the beginning, if Byrne came in later, I completely agree with that. But Byrne was doing that from the start. Where did they have time to fit it in when Byrne was the one handling the writing on 2 of the books?
I think she's talking about in the Wonder Woman book where Perez was basically saying up that Diana had this big crush on Superman.
Okay, but at the same time, though, they still had to run it to the Superman office, which was all sides were territorial, not just, it's not just that. So again, I don't think that was Byrne, I think that was more Carlin. If nothing else.
Okay, I kind of see that. But
it could also be a case where they teased it because they had to be Superman. Because even on Byrne's side, he had a crush on her. So it feels, part of me wonders if they did. Here's my theory. Because you had him teasing that too. Mm-hmm. Byrne was teasing that up to 600. I think it was a case where they were both teasing things up to it. And then once it happened, they realized this isn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounds more like. Because why would you have Byrne tease it too?
Right, Tevia, how is the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Lois a bad version? We don't see that much of her.
Yeah, I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything besides let us out of a cargo container.
And then she's just doing news stories. But anyway, but you get what I'm saying, though, right? It's like basically they played up ever since they met in Legend. Both of them were on the other's mind. Doesn't that sound like more like a story beat then if both books were doing that? But again, Byrne was doing that. It's not a case where Byrne it was just one-sided. I read those books.
It could be it was just the Superman editorial that had that problem.
It could have been that, but does that also sound like it could have been a story beat?
No, I mean, it probably maybe it was a story beat that both that both Byrne and Perez were doing, but then editorial said, "Okay, cut it. No."
Or maybe they both agreed. Let's build up to it and tease it, then pull the rug out. Before we know, that could have been a unanimous decision. Sadly, we won't know because Perez is gone and Byrne is so disconnected from everyone.
Rightly so, but
the only other brother we got is like Karen Berger or Mike Carlin.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a reason for you to get them on your show, brother.
right. But you get my point, though, right? Like, and I hope Britt understands what I'm trying to say because there's always two sides, and to just look at the worst is not always, a good thing. And that's why I say I don't think it did because, like I said, I read the books.
Britt says it's not that it wasn't going to work. Perez planned a story for them to be intimate, so it was going to be serious.
Where has that been said? And again, I could be wrong. I'm just saying, though, that why would Byrne tease it as well leading up to 600? If he was so against it, wouldn't he just ignore it?
Yeah, and by Tavia, we said the good stories for New 52 Lois. Grant Morrison. That's what we said.
And Snyder.
And Snyder. So Superman Unchained. That's what we said there.
Yep. Other than that, I mean, Lobdell wafered a little. Mm-hmm. Some of it.
Yeah, but so to wrap up, there's one other thing that we can kind of talk about. So here's the thing which you guys have to understand about some stuff. I recently came to a determination or like a new mindset, if you will, because the whole thing, particularly as it relates to Tom King's Wonder Woman.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Here's what you guys got. Here's what we need to understand. We can absolutely hate a run. Lord knows let me put it this way. The jury's still out because here's why. It's set up. So first off, here's the thing. Here's where I came to a realization because it didn't make sense that the Sovereign knew how Trinity was born because he wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So my thinking is, okay, so he's only saying what he thinks happened. Okay, that's fine. If we're going off of that assumption, that puts the entire plot of the run from Diana in question and goes into the whole unreliable narrator.
Except for absolute power.
Except for absolute power and Steve's death, because we know that that happens both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And Sovereign was there, so he would know how Steve dies. So the whole Wonder Woman punching her mom and such. And I brought this up in my.
That sounds like something he imagined in his head.
Yeah, so that's why I said it's like, and I said this in my how I would write Wonder Woman. If the way he can really help this run is if he establishes somewhere in the beginning.
David, no one knows about the absolute universe yet.
No one knows about that. But anyway, so my point is when you get to, so if he establishes near the beginning of the next set, as soon as he wraps up the Sovereign's perspective, if he establishes near like the beginning that like, yeah, nothing he said was true, or like some stuff that some stuff was like, no, if Diana walks in, or even Trinity go, now the only and the thing is, like, you could say, but he was wrapped in the lasso of truth. However, it was retconned. Well, yeah, it was retconned that, guess what? Remember, Robert, it was kind of revealed / retcon. These terms confuse me. When she killed Maxwell Lord, that's what Lord was so convinced of that.
That's not there. That's been long established. You can convince yourself. If you convince yourself enough, it'll bring it out.
Yeah. So I think if King,
and there's another way around it too. Who knows how long-term exposure to the lasso of lies can do?
That is very true. So here's the thing. If King establishes somehow that, like, all he has to do is call into question what the Sovereign said, which I think he will, then you know what? I can consider all the BS, like Wonder Woman eating rats, the punching mom thing, done, out.
And I can say this.
Not happening.
He didn't even have to do as many issues of covering that. It's going to be a very breezy, like, here's what happened. Yep. And even if it's stuff that King doesn't tell, I think he's going to leave enough wiggle room for just, if he does it well enough, describing it, you can just throw everything out without him having to debunk, on page, show us.
Or just one word balloon. I can't believe you believe what the Sovereign says.
Or you can say, I can't believe you're buying what I'm saying.
Exactly. That's all you have to say. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Like, I know you're full of crap.
Yeah, okay. Or like, you're an agent of lies. There you go. That's what Diana can say to him. I'm like,
But to be fair, though, him being the own keeper of the lasso of lies means it's been there since the beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
Why did you call him Loki and get it over with?
I know. We know the Norse gods exist in the DC universe as well.
Okay. I know why. One, he can't make it be his character so he can get residuals. And two, I don't think they want to go that far and bringing in the other pantheons into it.
Because then people will be like, oh, he's just ripping off Marvel.
Yep, you have enough people who think that, about Wonder Woman versus Thor.
Which would be Wonder Woman in that case. But yeah, I still think, because here's the thing. A lot of people, I may have just come to that.
It wouldn't make his run pointless. It would be, because I'm pretty sure it's not a case of saying 100% of what we're seeing is bunk. It's more like 60-40. Is that a good percentage?
Yeah, it's essentially like, hey, listen, and by the way, so Britt has a quote from Perez where he says he was setting up a story where Wonder Woman and Superman are intimate. Here you go.
Okay, let me see.
He says also, on my Wonder Woman agenda is a one-shot prestige format book tentatively titled Rendezvous, and it is a romance story with Diana and Superman to be edited by Karen. It will at last really deal with the physical relationship between these two popular characters. In other words, they do it. Due to the nature of the story, I will probably be using the gods as a means of allowing the reader his or her opinion to regard or disregard this tale as a part of DC continuity. I have no intention of treating the story sensationally, but there are definitely some mature themes I'll wish to explore.
Okay, but that doesn't put the fault all on Superman, the Superman creators. It could have been higher up as well. Felt like no, and put the kibosh on it.
Okay, that's fair.
And,
anyways,
and that definitely sounds like something I don't think even Jeanette Kahn would have allowed.
Yeah, and so here's my thing. It wouldn't make the run pointless if he said that, like, all this, because the thesis of this run, at least from my perspective,
I just was Legion to say he loves Tom King's run.
That's fine. You're allowed to have your own opinions, but I think the thesis of this run is truth versus lies.
And we've been getting through a lot of the lies, because I think here's the other thing. Why have we been following this far? Because it gives us the structure to know, give us the lies first, so then we can separate the truth from it.
Well, here's the thing. If Diana starts acting less robotic and more like warm and like traditional Diana as soon as it comes from her perspective, that's enough, because I'm like, okay.
Sounds like something he'd be doing. Because I remember right during Absolute is when she started being more warm.
Yeah, so you know what? So here's my thing. I've long said, if King has the opportunity, like this way, either way, he's not getting to 100 issues. I think we all agree on that.
Everyone, even my LCS owners, all agree 50 is probably it.
I'd say 25 to 50, somewhere in there.
I'm saying 50 is the max, is what I'm saying.
50 is the max, 100, because that's like where most writers end a Wonder Woman run. So it's not like it's anything like really exceptional. What about Trinity and her involvement in the storyline? What he could do? Remember, Robert, you said a way that they could at least fix Trinity is retcon the Steve part of the origin a little bit, so it's not as reliant on Steve. You could use this to do that as well.
Yep. Okay, Daniel, no one's arguing that part, first of all. No one's arguing that.
I don't know why you're saying that on that.
Yeah. Why bring that up? Yeah, because I know there's some, like, unfortunately, that is one of the cases again where Keith Giffen would be notorious for that.
Yeah.
All right, what about visiting the deathbed kid? The end of the fight was Cheetah. It feels like the story hasn't put her place to be warm. Hasn't put her places to be warm often. Okay, he's right there.
Warm. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Although to be fair though, the absolute power stuff, even when she's not in a situation to be warm, she said,
No, I meant in the Tom King run, Daniel. I meant in the Tom King run.
Yep, I said it. But even in those issues of absolute power, which she has no reason to be warm, she has come off warm.
Yeah, so in the parts where it wasn't necessarily narrated by Sovereign, in the case of those other runs, I would still say it like this way. Those are the exceptions to the rule.
Probably because also Sovereign even knew it'd be stupid for her to not be warm in those scenes.
Yeah, so he's like assuming it's okay, Daniel. He's assuming that Diana's not an a-hole. She's gonna be warm and all that stuff in certain.
And those are the ones where he cannot deny it.
You can retcon out the way the Amazons reacted to the Cancer Kid,
which that sounds like he would assume.
Yeah, exactly. That is definitely something you would assume.
To be fair though, they have had a history of that.
But I think they would trust their queen, though.
But they have had a history of that. I mean, the original Amazon attack. Points to Abe Lincoln? Who's he? Who cares? He's a man.
Yeah, but up until this run, no one talked about Amazon's attack.
Oh no, they only talk about Amazon attack. Well, to be fair though, what King is working on, you can't help but bring that up, and you can't deny it either.
But here's the thing. There was a reboot in between that. You could have just left that and not talked about it.
And you can blame Scott Snyder for this. And they said all continuity counts.
Okay, well, in that case, well, which origin for Wonder Woman is canon, though?
They keep on whopping.
I'm like, what? Even in the King run, he's like this or this. And I'm like,
you know what? That should have been a joke he did. Like, the whole boat or street. He
kind of did, though. In issue 2, he had to, some say she was the product of clay. Some say she was the product of this.
No, I'm saying he should have made that a running gag,
yeah.
Street and say, gods or clay.
Oh, Or you can have Donna going, what origin are you going with this time?
I could say the same thing to you.
Yeah, exactly. That would work.
You say that. I guess. Hey, can we talk about before we wrap up? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say before we wrap. Can we tell them that suggestion I gave for your other alternative sign off?
Oh, you mean I've been using that, by the way.
I haven't paid attention lately.
We'll do it. Oh, wait, Tom King canoned her Oh George. No, but here's the thing, though. Previous to this, it talks about her being the daughter of Zeus. She even calls herself the daughter of Zeus.
You know what someone needs to do?
What?
They need to have it be where the clay origin happened, but Zeus is the one who gave a lot of his energy. Not all, but a lot of his energy, if you want to keep both.
Well, what you could do, in the Wonder Woman 2009 animated movie, Hippolyta holds up the clay thing and then lightning hits it. You could kind of just do that.
Exactly. That's the best way I could think of, because that's one of the things I got to blame Jeff Johns for. That was his idea from what I understand.
The Zeus origin was him?
Wow. Because they wanted to simplify it.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair,
that does kind of simplify it, though.
It does.
Yeah, because remember, this was also around the time that the DZEU was starting up, so they're like, plus Zeus has all these kids from like stories in Greek myth, so it's like easy for people to like.
You can accept that, and you don't have to go into the details of, oh, she died when she was pregnant, and then she wanted to have that kid that Perez gave, which was great for Perez for the comics, but at the same time, it's just like a bit too much.
Yeah, but the other thing, they have to stick to an origin. I'm fine if they pick one. Oh, yeah, stop bringing in the other one.
The fact that Rucka went out of his way to bring back post-crisis, and then what did Robinson do? He went right back to it. And I was like, can I ask someone this? Is Zeus dead or not?
The last time I saw him was in the Rebirth run where he was killed by Darkseid.
But he's appeared again during shit with Shazam.
God damn it. Can these people talk to each other?
It's like, granted, he's a god. Maybe he could be reborn.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see the other gods around too. How many gods did they kill in that story arc?
So many.
And yet they're still all running around still.
Mm-hmm. Now, I thought of, okay, so here's the last point I'm going to say before we log off. So you guys originally know that I was trying to figure out ways to retcon out Trinity. I originally said, okay, she's the reincarnated Hippolyta being born.
Oh, yep. And what did I point out?
Robert pointed out that they can't do that because Hippolyta is one of the gods that gives Mary Marvel her powers.
She's still around. How can she be reincarnated if she's still around?
That is very true. That is very
true.
So I'm like, I didn't think about that. Now,
well, you told me before you haven't read Shazam, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah, so in which case, I go back to my original Cersei thing, where it's a story, it's a way that Cersei's using to break Diana. All right, there you go. But anyway, that's a stream for another time. But anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. So now, in terms of, okay, so Robert.
Just answer, Tavia, it's happened since the end of the Clunan run.
Okay. So, Robert, where can we find you and what have you got coming on your channel? By the way, thank you for coming on, dude.
No problem. I have my own show, Pro Teacher Zoo. This is my regular self. I call it, my channel is known as Videos from the Multiverse. You guys can check me out there. I'm going to, probably not tonight, it's going to take a while to unpack the game, but I am going to start up streaming the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Heck yeah.
Can't wait for to do that.
Legion says Mary Marvel is empowered by the Greek goddesses now.
Gods and goddesses are pretty much.
It's the same thing. The female gods is what she's powered by.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I'll be starting that up, and then I'll eventually get back to Mass Effect 3.
Heck yeah! And so for me, CLD tomorrow, and then movie night is going to be Mana tomorrow. And then for Super Wonder Legacy, Britt and I are going to are going to say how we would adapt the comic, The Day in the Life of Wonder Woman by Jimenez. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you this, Britt, if you're watching, we are going to cut Trevor Barnes out of that book completely. Most lazy love interest. But yes, we will be reviewing Absolute Superman number 2. I just have to read it. I love all the Absolute books. Absolute Wonder Woman #2 was fantastic. More on that later. Anyway, stay heroic. All right, remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane, and Steve Trevor is Steve Never. That was Robert. That was Robert. That was a good one. Like, when is the Superman and Lois finale talk? That's true. It's probably going to be on CLD tomorrow on my end. And if you want to collab on it, Legion, on your channel, we can do that. But anyway.
But yeah, I think that Steve Trevor, Steve Never.
That was such a good one. And I still have to factor in the belongs with General Zod part. But Zoas and Max are back for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. All right. And outro.